beautiful Greenbank house, which is now in the ownership of the National Trust for Scotland. The garden is a gem, packed full of lovely plants all the year round. There's something to see here all the year round. And there we have Viburnum fragrans, one of the many shrubs that produce flowers in winter. This is very heavily scented, as the name suggests. Although this looks more like a small nursery of yew trees, it is in fact going to be topiary once it's joined up and clipped and so on. This was full of boxwood at one stage, and it succumbed to the boxwood wilt that's destroyed so many boxwood hedges in Scotland. A garden of rooms. This is yet another room. This is an interesting piece of sculpture in the garden, based on the theme of the Green Man. You see many wood carvings on chairs and so on, in the likes of the City Chamber in Glasgow, illustrating the Green Man carved in wood. And here's an unusual feature made from metal. These are the trial beds, and Virginia, or elephant's lugs, or elephant's ears as we call it. You see quite a grand collection of plants and foliage, many different varieties. I understand which publishes the best and so on, lists of the best, quite interesting. And over here we have geraniums, a collection of geraniums. And as I say, at this time of year it's not very much to look at, but if you look at the paths alone, they're interesting, made up of shredded debris from the gardens, shredded branches, shredded wood. There's a wee shelter, another wee surprise in a wee garden. Looks like they've been doing some work in it, to the roof at least. There's this rather fine grass path leading right up the garden to the woodlands beyond, and that sundial in the middle. And here we have, at this time of year, a lovely fern putting up a great show of foliage, which is really good at this time of year. And sitting above it, viburnum, I think, looking with evergreen leaves. And on we go into this part of the garden, which is quite interesting because it's intended for people in wheelchairs. Now, as you can see, the paths are sunk low into the garden, and the people who are using this garden in wheelchairs can get easy access to the plants and see things like the pond and the fish in the pond. Put their hand out and touch the water if necessary. These are wee beds again, trial sort of beds with different plants in. And straight ahead are the Glasgow. A bit warm in there, which is more you can say about here. Another fine fern. Now let's get in here and see what it's like. The workers are about, working in all weathers, as usual. Get a fine old stone bird bath. And a wee robin hiding there, just disappeared, you might have seen it. And water coming in there and coming out there. And here we have water right at the side. There's the old pump, the trough for bringing the water into the garden. This wonderful juniper you see there is from China. It's Juniperus recurva coxi, and it's called the coffin juniper because in China the timber, in larger specimens, is used to make coffins. Very soon, spring arrives, this heather will be in full bloom. Here's a fine yew hedge. The clippings from yew are sent to a laboratory in England to be turned into chemicals that are used to treat cancer. Gardens all over Scotland subscribe to this scheme, sending huge sacks of yew clippings every year. The yew does make a fine hedge and a fine backcloth to show off plants against. There you see the beautiful house again at the top of the garden. This is a very attractive area in the summertime. Herbaceous borders again set off by yew. Nice big conifers, and this bed straight ahead is packed full of annual flowers. Flowers sown, grown and flowering in the one season, and it's a great show. The whole garden is a walled garden, and it makes a big difference when you're trying to grow tender plants. Now this very, very fine golden tree in the background is Pinus sylvestris, I think it's Aurea, the golden Scots pine. And this lovely flower on the left is another viburnum. I actually don't know what that one is, but it's a bonny one anyway. We're moving around this very attractive part of the garden and through these lovely wee paths. It's the only way to get out, otherwise it's a dead end. And you can see that excellent recent planting here. Snowdrop's just about to come into flower. Harry Lauder's walking stick, Corylus colurna, tortuosa, the tortured hazel, and commonly called Harry Lauder's walking stick. Now whether Harry Lauder's walking stick came from one of these or not, I would not know, but that's the common name it's given. Very attractive herbaceous borders, looking a bit dead at this time of year, but that's not a big surprise. It is January, and even though it's been a very strange year, we're coming in amongst the bamboos now. You could actually call this part of the garden, if you like, the bamboozlum, which at Inverview is a very famous part of their garden. But for this garden here, this is the bamboozlum. And there's Hedera, or ivy on the wall, a lovely golden Hedera major marginata, maybe. It certainly describes the plant. And some golden foliage. You can see that the garden looks good at any time of the year, perhaps better at some times than others. Now there's no water running in here today, but this young lady was at the Empire exhibition, I believe, and now graces the garden of Greenbank.